And good morning, everyone, for another morning coffee with Marcaida. TGIF, it's a Friday, and how's everybody doing on this Friday? I hope everybody's doing great as we start off our morning cup of Joe with our Lynn Ray cup. Very nice, Master Smith, but I love that painting. Is that cool? Anyways, on this Friday, I want to say good morning to everyone and say I am grateful and thankful for everybody to be here and that we are able to broadcast and share our thoughts with each other. And today's thought is convenience versus happiness. And this is related to the idea that money buys happiness, or money can make you happy. Money buys convenience, but it can't buy you happiness. And what is that all about? Well, the thing about money things is that there seems to be a measure of success and happiness for people. You may think that it is that way, but studies have shown that a lot of very wealthy people aren't exactly very happy. It is a personal thing. We equate it to success, but in reality, it just buys you the conveniences of your basic needs. Once shelter, once food, clothing, and all these basic necessities are met, money becomes mundane because it doesn't bring you everything else. What it does is it creates even sometimes more anxiety to maintain that lifestyle, more anxiety and stress to make sure that you still have all these conveniences. Whereas those who are able to make do without the convenience and survive seem to find happiness elsewhere and not in materialistic things. So take note of that. The reason I'm talking about that is talking to a friend of mine who says, you know what, I had to quit my six-figure job, and now I don't have that money that I used to from that job, but I am doing other things that I'm very passionate about, especially when your passion can get you by, but it doesn't bring you the same amount that your job that you had to do for the money was. The conveniences are gone, but you're doing what you're passionate about. And when I thought about that, it got very interesting. When I look at a lot of people who have less than what I do, one of the things that I always see there is the smiles, that they're able to find happiness in a less than materialistic way because what they have and they're happy. It's really one of those things. If you can find joy with what you already have, you're set. But if you feel that you need certain things to make you happy, you're not going to be set. Because you think that materialistic things, to get those, once you have it, I have this beautiful car, this beautiful house, and everything else. It's supposed to make me happy, so why do I still feel empty inside? Because sometimes the things that money can't buy are the emotional things of physical health, love, of people around you. Just because you have money and everything else, you can buy that? Is that real love? Is that really that they respect you and love you for who you are if you didn't have any of those other materialistic things and wealth? Something to think about when you look at that. And for me, it's basically going back to the basics of, if I can find a way to find and pay for my basic needs, then pursuing my passion and the things that make it important to me are not about the money, not about the success. It's about being with people that really matter to me. And I remember that one thing, a story happened, and I'll relate to the martial art world where I come from, is that one of my friends was from Europe, and we were training in the Philippines. And he was an IT guy, computer stuff, right? And the year later on, he quit his job. He sold everything so that he could live very, be, lesser than his means in the Philippines, so that he just wanted to train. And I asked him, wow, you gave up that money to do all this? He goes, you know why? I was already making a lot of money. And when I was in the Philippines, I saw these kids in the streets just playing in the mud and dirt. But the laughter that came from them, that heartfelt laughter, I go, I have never laughed that way. And I'm like, what right do they have to laugh that way when they have nothing? They have nothing compared to what I have, but yet they have that laughter, I don't. So what's going on over here? What am I missing? And the fact that, yes, they don't have a nice house, a great house and everything else. They have food to eat, clothing and everything else. But the happiness that they have seems to be so pure. He goes, I want that for myself. As soon as I'm able to realize I only need my basic needs, but then I'll find my happiness from the core and being of me with being with people and not depending on the richness of stuff. But I go, isn't that hard to do when you find pleasure in your conveniences? A beautiful house, a beautiful house. You know what? In the end, all these conveniences become boring and mundane. Yeah, they're nice to have in the beginning, but they become a novelty because they're things, they're not people. And just like everything else, you will take it for granted. Nice car, nice thing. Later on, it's just a thing. Whether it's nice or not, it becomes a thing. You find out that you don't find happiness through things. You find it through more meaningful things like people, like what you're doing. Am I doing something that I love? Is this my purpose in life? That's why one of my favorite things that my teacher told me is cherish the hardships that you get. Cherish the problems that you don't have. Be amazed that you don't have a lot, but you get by. You know why? It's to remind you that you can survive without all that stuff. You can remind you that there was a time when all the complexities that come with the conveniences is something to cherish. What do you mean by that? I never had a phone, so I never had issues with having to be on social media. I never had a phone, so I don't have the issues of trying to get cell phone data. When I didn't have a phone, I didn't have to keep looking to charge my phone, or the first thing that I reach for is my phone, or that I'm always constantly on this nice phone and I'm not paying attention to people. Never had that issue before. Now that I have it, I have to do all this, all these apps, all these different things, all the things that I'm available 24/7. Anybody can call me, and if they don't get a hold of me, they get angry. Never had that issue because I couldn't afford a phone then. Now that I can afford a phone and all these things, all of a sudden this all falls to me. That's one example of why you cherish when you didn't have things, because there are niceties which are basically your conveniences. And there are the necessities. I need food, I need shelter, I need clothing. But once that's met, those are simple stuff. Where is my true happiness coming from? Once all the basic needs are met, where is my true happiness? I'm not saying doing without is easy, but you can survive through it. I'm not saying that doing without and being less or not having a job and all these worries isn't easy and it's not stressful. It is. But if you can still be happy with it, you're way ahead of the game. Because when I look at the way I lived back home, one family had something, middle class. One family that had everything lost everything. Despite all that, I seem to be able to go back to the memories of that and still say there were a lot of happy times. There were a lot of happy times, yet we didn't have the materialistic things that others had, but we had each other. In misery, we found company, and in that company brought us the happiness. It was about people, not the conveniences. And to be able to make that distinguish and be able to distinguish things from what is a convenience that I can buy and what is the happiness that I cannot buy, that is what we need to figure out for ourselves. And it's different for everyone. It's all relative to what's important to you. But remember, that's what they mean by money can't buy happiness. It just buys conveniences. Doug Marcaida here with a Morning Cup of Joe. Have a great Friday, folks. Take care.